All right. Well, to get started, I'll tell you a little bit about me. So I'm Dr. Stephanie Merrilees. I am a licensed professional counselor. I have my doctorate in counselor education and supervision. So I counsel. I also teach people to counsel. And that is one thing I do. I have a private practice in Montgomery. Outside of that, I also am a first responder. I do an alternate to police program in Cincinnati, so I've been doing that for about 2 years now. And we respond to things that maybe don't require police. It's me and a firefighter. It's been going well, so that's important work for me. And then I also teach at UC, and that's where I teach counselors. And I do both the master's program in counseling and also the undergraduate in substance abuse counseling. So lots and lots of mental health in all aspects of my life. Marcia asked me to put something together about mental health today to speak about. And it's kind of tricky because my biggest beef with mental health social media is that it is so personal, and so much of mental health work has to be that therapeutic relationship, has to be built, has to be grown. So it's hard to have these like takeaways and tidbits, but thinking on it, this is kind of universal to everybody. So this whole reacting versus responding, and it can be more difficult for people based on traumas, based on different diagnoses, different things you have going on. But all of these tidbits are things you can take away. And I'll talk more at the end about signs that maybe this is a little harder for you. Maybe you could talk to a therapist about it. But this is what we're talking about today. So, reacting versus responding. They sound very similar, but slightly different. So, reacting is based on emotion. You might feel out of control, might feel not yourself afterwards. So, I'll give you an example. I'll try to use it throughout. So, I talk to my mom basically every day. And good relationship, but like I said, I've got 3 separate jobs. They're all pretty emotionally taxing. So sometimes when I talk to her at the end of the day, I am not my best self. I do not have a lot of emotional space, but I still want to talk to her. So, talking to my mom on the phone, she brings up grandma. She's complaining about the same thing grandma does every other day because grandma's got her issues. If I'm reacting, I'm like, Mom, I don't want to talk about grandma. We always talk about grandma. This is not helpful. I don't want to hear about it. That's not helpful for her. It's not helpful for me. I feel bad about it because I'm hurting my relationship with my mom. I'm not acting how I want to act. Responding is based in this better self. It's based in a healthier brain, feels more control. It's more the person we want to be. We usually feel better about it. So if I'm responding to my mom, I might pause for a second and say, yeah, I'm sorry, grandma's like that. Sounds like it's a lot to deal with. Or I'm pausing and saying, hey, I've had a lot on my plate today. I can't really talk about this right now. Can we touch base tomorrow? So it's just me responding in a better way instead of that initial reacting that's based in a feeling. And this doesn't always have to be with somebody else. So this can also be just how we're responding to our own feelings and our own behaviors. So let's say I come home from work and before I know it, I find myself on the couch, I'm mindlessly eating popcorn, binge watching a show I don't care about. And I'm like, whoa, I wanted to change my cat's litter boxes, I wanted to wash my dishes, I wanted to do all these things. And I find myself doing this because maybe I had a long day, maybe I'm overwhelmed. Whereas if I'm reacting, I come home, maybe I give myself a few minutes to decompress, to calm down, but then I can proceed and do the things that I planned on doing. So the way to start responding instead of reacting, we have to be aware of both our thoughts and our feelings. Thoughts seem to be a little bit easier for people because feelings are really big. I haven't seen the new Inside Out 2 movie, but my understanding is it does a really good job with anxiety and thoughts and why all of that can be really hard and feelings and everything. But the first step is identifying thoughts. So what this might look like is mindfulness. And a lot of times people hear mindfulness and they're like, I don't have time to sit down and meditate and do all those things. But mindfulness is just pausing and bringing attention to what is actually going on in our head. Because we have constant thoughts going on and constant things just racing through our brains. We can't control them. They're just gonna come through regardless of if we want them to or not. But mindfulness is just pausing and saying, okay, what's popping up? So the situation with my mom, maybe the thought pops up in my head, ugh, here we go again. So pausing that and saying, okay, whoa, valid that she's overwhelmed. Maybe you have talked about it a lot of times, and that's valid as well. But where's my initial gut coming from? Is that her, or is that about me in the state I'm in? So just pausing, bringing attention to what's going on, listening to our thoughts. If you want to do a meditation type activity, there's lots of guided ones on YouTube, but this is just letting thoughts come and go without judgment. So again, bringing awareness. Lots of people like different things. So I just had a client describe to me like, a thought comes in, they let it rest on a butterfly, and it flies away. People like the lily pad, frog, you just see them floating away. So whatever works for you, just letting those thoughts come, recognizing them, and go away. And brain dumps are always helpful. I definitely recommend these before bed for people who have trouble sleeping or they have anxiety type things, just getting things out. You don't necessarily have to look at the why behind it, just getting it out of your head so it's no longer swimming up here. You can also do this verbally. That's why a lot of times people just say things out loud in therapy and then they're like, wait, that doesn't make any sense. Why am I thinking that? You can hear it, and so then it's external. It's no longer swimming around in here. You have that secondary, I'm looking at it now. It's a little different. So, like I said, this identifying feelings can be a lot more challenging for people because feelings can be really, really hard. A lot of times we don't know what our feelings are. That's probably a very big theme I see in therapy. We don't identify feelings. Like I said, I teach people to become therapists, and many of them are not aware of their feelings either. They don't know how to empathize, and the first step we take with that is, okay, well, how about you check in with your feelings so that if you know this is what that feels like, you can recognize it in somebody else. So if everything's feeling the same, if you can only recognize it when it's here and you're like, I'm just overwhelmed, or I'm panicked, or I'm upset, we want to break that down. What's actually going on instead of these big umbrella feelings. Everybody also says I'm fine a lot, all the time. I think I heard this on Grey's Anatomy, so I don't know how true it is, but it said the average adult says I'm fine 14 times a day. Sounds about right though. And that's all of my clients. It's like, how are you doing? I'm fine. And then they sit down, they're like, just kidding, I'm not doing fine. Everything's on fire. So this helps us actually pick out a feeling and bring attention to what that actually is, what that feels like, what that looks like in ourselves. So one way you can get better at this, so that when you're in these big moments, it's easier, just check in with yourself once or twice a day. Say, what word on this feelings wheel can I identify with? How do I know this? Is it a body sensation? Is it some external clues? What's going on? And the why part's really hard, but it helps you kind of do that second level of learning so that later on, easier to identify. So now you know what thoughts are going on, you know what your feelings are. How do we move into a healthier place so that we can respond instead of just acting on whatever's going on with us? One step we can do with this is grounding. A lot of people have heard of this technique, but it's just grounding with your 5 senses. So it doesn't matter what order you do them in, you just want to use all 5 of the senses and count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So you'd say, okay, 5 things I can see. I can see people, I can see the Boston Fern, I can easiest sign. And you want to be specific to help bring yourself down and put yourself into the present situation you're in. And sometimes you don't even get down to the last one. You just do the first couple and you're like, okay, starting to come down, starting to feel more present. And it's easy. There's always things going on that our senses can connect to, and it's easy to remember because we know what our senses are. Different de-escalation techniques. You have to find what works for you. So these are going to look different for everybody. And also, breathing works for everybody. People like to tell me breathing doesn't work for them, and that's just not true because you're a person. So if you're breathing, it helps bring your body down. That's just science. You might be in too big of a state, but it's only bringing you down a little bit, and so it feels like it's not working. Breathing always works. So this might be different techniques. There's so many breathing techniques out there. So again, whatever you like, whatever works for you. Belly, diaphragm, big breathing. You do square breathing, which is in for a certain number, hold, out for that certain number, hold again. But even just pausing enough to say, okay, inhale, exhale, bringing attention to it, helps your body ground better. And the STOP acronym, this is technique in itself, but it's also kind of a good reminder for all of this. So when you're feeling up here, thinking, okay, I'm gonna stop. I'm not just going to react in this moment, which again, very hard, not an easy thing to do, but if you can at least pause, then you're deciding, okay, do I want to just react to this feeling? Do I want to try something different? And maybe the feeling's too big and it's not gonna work, but at least I'm gonna give myself that second to try something different. So once you've stopped, then take a second, do the breathing, you observe what's going on, what am I feeling in my body, what's the situation, all of those things. Just what is happening right now that I'm feeling like I'm up here and I'm usually down here. And then the hope is that you can proceed mindfully from there. Like I said, all of this takes practice. It is not easy. None of these are just do this solutions, but the hope is the more we stop, reflect, pause, move forward, we can move forward in these more mindful, helpful ways. More de-escalation techniques. Cold water on your face or on your wrists, that can help because it lowers your body, helps bring you down a little bit. Similar to that is just shocking one of your senses. So anything that makes one of your senses change a little bit. So this might be chewing like peppermint gum, could light a candle if there's a scent you like, or just a different scent. Again, drinking cold water, not just putting it on your body. All those things can help kind of shock you out of this panic state and help bring you down to a better place where you might be able to respond more mindfully. You can always try a short exercise or a run, just something to get out some of that energy. I'm not an advocate from running from your problems, so not a giant run and then everything's fine, you've forgotten about what's going on. But if something would help you, like jogging in place or just doing something to help, okay, what's going on here? The brain's a little bit regulated now, and I respond differently. And then muscle relaxation, people like this as well. It can be as easy as just flexing and unflexing your different muscle groups. They have a lot of really good guided ones, again, on YouTube, on different apps. People say this makes them fall asleep sometimes, which again shows that it's calming you down, helping your body relax. But even just tensing, untensing can help your body regulate a little better. So, if you're not just by yourself trying to regulate these things, if you're with somebody else, these safe words can be really, really helpful. So a lot of times people will have these conflicts with their spouses, with their partner, with somebody important to them. Safe words are very, very helpful because they help that person come down a little bit and feel like they're in a safer place to feel their emotions. So please, thank you, I love you, I'm sorry. They just Even when I'm first responding, obviously I'm not telling people I love you, but if they're escalated up here, they're like, I don't have to leave, I don't wanna leave, I can be here. Hey, I'm sorry that we are here in your space. I'd really appreciate if you could work with us. We're just responding out for a call. It brings them down immediately. And maybe they're still not gonna listen, because, people don't listen. But it at least brings it from this place of emotion brain to, okay, let's have a conversation. So, if I respond to my mom, I'm like, I don't care about grandma. I don't want to talk about grandma today. And my mom says, hey, I love you, but I really don't appreciate you talking to me like that. That's going to bring me down and help me check myself of, yeah, I don't want to be acting like this. This is not me. Or vice versa, if I'm saying to her, like, hey, I love you, I can't do this right now. Can we talk tomorrow and regroup? Helps the situation, makes everybody feel more heard, more understood. Which, in that light, validation is also extremely important. This is something to go over with people all the time because people often equate validating with ownership. So saying to somebody, hey, I'm really sorry you're going through that, doesn't mean that you're saying, I did that, or you're taking ownership of it. And maybe there's a space for you to take ownership, but that's not what validation is. You're just saying to the person, hey, you seem really overwhelmed right now, or you seem really sad, this doesn't seem like you. It helps them feel seen and also helps bring that back down. One of my ex-partners, I told him a zillion times, if you just validate me, we'll have different fights. I will be a better human, I will bring myself down. And he was like, no, that's not accurate, that'll never work. So that's why he's an ex-partner. But it does work, it helps the person come down. And that can be hard if both people are escalated, for one person to remember, hey, let's bring this down, let's check in. But acknowledgement is really helpful. So, again, sorry you're feeling overwhelmed today. I see how much that upset you, that must be difficult. You're not saying, I upset you, I put you through this. It's just, hey, I see what's going on. And it just allows for more conversation from there, and then you can have more of a conversation. So where people get caught up as well is they want to bring their point across. Like, I see that you're mad, but I didn't mean it that way.
Yep.
And that opens that door for that. Okay, I'm really sorry that hurt you. Can I explain to you what was going through my head and why I wasn't trying to hurt you? That first part has to happen, but then the second part can't happen. So, safe words, validation, very, very helpful. So, now what? You have either responded well, or you have not responded well in a situation. Acknowledgement. So, what was going on? Maybe I didn't respond well to my mom, and conversation didn't go well, we just got off the phone. Maybe the next day, I have some space, and I say to her, hey, I just worked 12 hours, I had an emotional day, it's not fair for me to treat you that way, and I don't want to act like this in the future, so maybe I need to ask her for help, maybe I need her to check in with me before she shares things, or maybe I need to check in with myself, and then we can have more productive conversations. But what this looks like is taking accountability if it didn't go well, which is very hard. People don't like to say, I was not my best self in that moment, but it means a lot to revisit that with people, and then also, if you can, this is what I would like this to look like in the future. So, ideally, we're going to proceed mindfully and be our best selves, but if that doesn't happen, here's what was going on, I'm sorry, here's what I would like this to look like. And maybe there's something bigger going on. So whether it's with somebody else or with ourselves, we need to check in, is this feeling still big? What needs to be done? A lot of times we have coping patterns that aren't the best for us, and we don't know how else to respond. So it's like, okay, well, I recognize I'm sad. When I'm sad, I cope with food, and that's what I'm going to do, and I don't know anything else that will help. So maybe we can recognize something else healthier we can do, something that's better for us. Not that food's bad, but if it becomes a problem, that type of thing, what else could be healthy for us? And so maybe we know this. Maybe we're like, okay, I'm going to do yoga, or I'm going to go hang out with my cat. Maybe we don't know this, and that could be a place where therapy comes in of, hey, I recognize I keep having these really unhealthy things, or maybe it's I come home and I always have a glass of wine because that's how I calm down. I don't want to keep doing that because it's not the person I want to be. Therapy can be a place you're exploring, why is this my automatic coping response? What could be healthier for me? What need is not being met here? And is there something bigger? And how can you respond to that? So maybe I have this same fight with my mom every single day. It never gets better. Is there something deeper that I need to explore, that I need to heal within myself that could repair that relationship? Is it something she needs to work on? What's going on here? But giving ourselves that space to reflect. Are these little things that I think I do have control over, I can maybe respond better? Or do I need to talk through these things with somebody who might have different ideas, different perspectives? All right, that's everything. So, yeah, questions, comments, anything?
I like when you said doing something healthy as opposed to just saying, which is the definition of insanity. There is going to be a different result. So that is something that I know personally I need to work on. Something different.
It's very hard, because a lot of times these are automatic responses we've had
Coping
forever.
mechanisms is original body almost.
Right.
Upset or she gets on my nerve.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. These can be responses we've learned forever. So trying to do something different is very, very hard. But the goal is the more we chip away at it, the more we bring this mindfulness, we can do it easier. It gets easier to change it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, in closing, a lot of people think that going to a therapist or counselor, it's admitting that you are a failure or that something is really wrong with you. People don't like to acknowledge or admit that kind of thing. It's something that I think human beings need to do, and yet they need help, they need to talk to someone about that. Good points.
Right. As we were talking about that earlier, you can know the things to do, and sometimes it doesn't mean you can do them. I'm not perfect at this at all, but I know how to tell somebody about it and help them recognize patterns and all the things, but I don't do it perfectly. Nobody does. It's hard.
And men want to fix it. I've been married a long time. Fix it, keep moving.